Greetings, everybody. My name is Mike Stromsoe. I'm the president and one of the team leaders at Stromsoe Insurance Agency, and I am uber pumped and excited today in our ongoing series to better protect business owners and everything that they face out there in running their business. And we have something that has become a very big risk very quickly in today's environment. So I am proud to have with us today Mr. Michael Armstrong. He's one of our business partners, and I don't know of anybody that has more knowledge and a better product out there to better protect business owners and their risks against cyber liability. So Michael, welcome. How's it going today?
It's going good. I appreciate you having me on. You know, I'm fired up about the future of cyber insurance as well as the partnership we've made. So I'm looking forward to today and speaking with you about the exposures out there.
Yeah, well, and our goal as always is to not only educate the business owner out there about their potential exposures, but to better help them to be protected, and that's always our goal. So, hey, Michael, why insurance? Why cyber insurance? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so again, my name is Michael Armstrong. I'm a third-generation insurance professional from Orange County, California. I like to think insurance, is in my blood. Obviously, understanding I'm following the footsteps of my grandfather and my father. But to sort of touch on cyber, my goal coming in this industry, in this particular field, was to become an expert in a specialized market. And I have done so with the opportunity about 2 years ago with Evolve. So that's really the goal, trying to become an expert and grow that knowledge.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. You're doing a great job. And like I said, I don't know anybody out there who has a better protection product on the market right now than Evolve. So I am super excited to dive in. We protect ourselves with Evolve. So we recommend other people do as well. So, hey, Michael, talk to us about businesses and their vulnerability to cyber attacks in today's marketplace. I mean, who's vulnerable out there?
Right. So, in my perspective, every single business is vulnerable to a cyber attack. When you're looking at some of the largest past cyber attack breaches, the familiar names of Target, Facebook, Google, Marriott, some of the largest corporations within the US have also suffered some of the largest cyber attacks. And these are companies that invest millions of dollars into cybersecurity and the procedures implemented to mitigate those losses, right? So with that being said, as a small to mid-sized business owner, the vulnerability is there for you too, and the exposure is there. And there's 4 things I really look at, right? And this is something that every business does. 1, they collect sensitive data, right? Clients, employees, customers, whoever it may be. They are collecting the name, address, phone number, banking information, etc. The next is every business is performing financial transactions, right? It's essential to their growth, and it helps a flourishing economy, which is something we all want and love to see, right? So that brings me to a certain point, and this is, a strong claim and exposure we see in our industry, which is called funds transfer fraud, also known as social engineering. This is the second most common claim we handle, right? And so with that being said, what that entails is, simply put, a hacker is able to socially engineer or dupe an employee or a senior level executive officer into sending money to the wrong place. What businesses need to understand is that there's 2 pieces of information that hackers need to carry out this sort of attack, right? It's business email and bank account, which every business, if not most, have. And that already makes them exposed to one of the most common claims we handle. Thirdly, now more than ever, businesses are relying on technology, right? So in 2016, Microsoft released an annual report with the prediction that by 2020, there'd be 4 billion active internet users. Right now, there's about 4.4 to 4.5 billion, which is close to 60% of our total population. Right. So in 2019, most recently, they reported by 2030, there'd be 50 billion connected devices on the internet.
Wow.
So what does this mean to us? Well, this means that with the more and more connected devices, there's going to be a higher volume, of data being transferred back and forth. So the exposure and the challenge of protecting businesses from targeted attacks is going to be very difficult at this day and age, right? But ultimately, something I really want to bring the attention to business owners and get them something to consider is the human error aspect. Human error is arguably the number one cause of any cyber attack that we handle. And so as a business owner, you need to truly consider, are my employees taking the safest measures? Do we have the best practices and procedures in place? And these are things now moving forward that they'll have to consider.
Yeah, and human error, that's why we're in the business that we're in, to protect people against errors that human makes. But, two key things that you just brought up, and I've heard you say this before, but it's a great reminder. The two things that are our biggest exposures are bank accounts and emails addresses. And, our business teams, we can't expect our team, we should expect our team members, but they don't always pay attention to the link they're clicking on.
Right.
Like we might, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm, of course. And the thing is too, no business has the amount of resources to, sort of big brother watch over every single employee, right? So the key is awareness and understanding for those employees to be aware of the exposures and the future attacks out there.
Yeah. So that's one of the many, many things I love about your program is you help with those risk management pieces before this might happen to better prepare people so they're not exposed to these risks. And we'll get into that in just a minute. Thank you, Michael, so much. That's great information. So in discussing cyber insurance with so many businesses out there, a lot of people, I'll ask them, how much do you know about cyber liability insurance anyway? And they'll say, well, I've heard about first person or third party or first party, third party. I say, well, what's the difference as far as what you've learned so far? And at that point, they can't really explain anything else. So Michael, help us better understand first party liability and third party liability.
Right. So there's really two exposure buckets, and you just touched on them. There's the first party cost as well as the third party cost. First party costs are, as a business, we've been hacked. That's notification costs, identity theft, monitoring services, cybercrime, business or interruption, and so forth, right? So based on our analysis and our data, close to 96% of the claims we've handled are associated with first party costs. And this ties into the innovation factor that Evolve brings. We consider ourselves the pioneers of cyber product innovation. For our first party costs, there is no aggregate on the first party limit, right? So as a business owner, you ask yourself, how many transactions am I making a year? 50 to 100, right? So then you take into effect that on each unrelated incident that could happen within that policy period, that's reloading. And then the second one you touched on, third party costs. This is, as a business, we're being sued as a result of a cyber attack. And that's privacy liability or network liability. But those only account for close to 4% of the claims that we're handling. So what businesses need to understand is our goal in handling these claims, because they're very specific on each individual case. But ultimately, our goal is to get that businesses back up and running as quickly as possible. And in doing so, handle them so effectively that we avoid those third-party costs.
Fantastic. That's great information. Again, thank you. So, but proactivity is always recommended versus reactivity. So another great facet, like I said, is you also provide the tools to be proactive and protecting against these types of exposures in our business day to day. So, and I can't stop thinking about a bank account and an email address. Every business has those, and they have the human error aspect as well. So, Michael, one of the other great features, like I've already mentioned about Evolve's program, is the robust nature of your cyber program. And it includes many, many risk management features. We talked about that just a couple of minutes ago. And with so many people working remotely right now, what type of increased exposures might employers be facing right now, especially with the remote working environment that we're in right now?
Yeah, and so with any business, one of the key aspects of running a successful business, right, is to be able to adapt to the unpredictable and unprecedented situations. And this is one of those situations. And unfortunately, in my field, these are the situations that hackers flourish on. They love to take advantage, right? So just recently, the FBI reported on April 1st, they issued a press release warning all businesses and individuals that cyber actors will be taking advantage of the situation due to the high volume of virtual networks and virtual environments. It doesn't matter whether you're the government, private sectors, private organizations, or individuals. And this is related to COVID-19 and employees and companies now having to work remote. Already before then, by March 30th, they had received and reviewed 1,200 claims, specifically directly related to COVID-19. So again, emphasizing the fact that this is a hacker's paradise. This is what they, prey on, is that human vulnerability, that human error. And with that being said, there's so many companies making that quick transition to the remote desktop protocol. And with that being said too, employees are working on personal devices, many of these situations. And so they're able to gain remote access and management through typically just a username and password. So there's data on data being transferred in between these servers, devices, virtual desktops, and so forth. So there's multiple ways, hackers can truly take advantage of this. One of the most common ones is stolen credentials. And so, for example, what they do is they utilize a attack known as brute force attack, where they're actually able to systematically check all possible passwords, passphrases until the correct one hits, and then boom, they're given access to your system. And unfortunately, it's happening to every business sector out there. There's emphasis on certain ones, whether it's municipalities, real estate, and like healthcare in certain situations.
Wow. I mean, our entire business, everything we worked so hard for, everything we built, if you're a business owner listening or watching this, could be at risk when one of our team members is trying to operate, especially in today's environment right now, on their own individual secure or maybe unsecure device, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, wow, that's a big exposure that a lot of people probably don't think about. So, Michael, you mentioned healthcare. Let's talk about a claims example. I mean, Evolve handles thousands of claims, if not more than that. Talk a little bit about, do you have a claim scenario in the healthcare realm as an example? And I bring up healthcare because we handle a lot of healthcare, number one. Number two, it's very big right now as a lot of people are ill and so forth and so on, and still a very essential business to say the least. So.
Yeah, I'd say right now it's probably the most essential in my perspective, right? And so, with phishing links, with the possible attacks out there, there's been thousands of domains registered under COVID-19, and their perspective and their intent is to trick people on clicking them. So with that being said, unrelated to COVID-19, I have a great claims example with a healthcare entity, a medical practice up in Simi Valley. So on August 10th, they had suffered a ransomware attack where the ransomware was actually launched onto their entire computer systems, including their backups. So the misconception that we are protected because we have backups isn't necessarily always true. So keep that in mind, and that's why we have protection built in just in case those backups do get damaged. Right. But ultimately, this prevented all access to their medical files, as well as the health information of patients. So I think anybody can imagine what that means for a healthcare entity, for a medical practice, and what that includes, stress-wise, business operations-wise, and so forth. So the attack was permanent, the virus was permanent, and thus made file recovery obsolete and impossible. So what were the results of this type of attack? This is the most common attack we see in our industry, ransomware, and it's very adaptive, and there's always new strains being produced. So the results of this particular ransomware attack, there was about 5,835 patients affected and all notified accordingly. The compromised information included name, address, health information, health insurance information, and so forth. But what's the ultimate result? Unfortunately, this particular practice was shut down on December 17th of 2020 after, I believe, 18 years of service to their patients, right? So not only as a business owner in this situation was their practice ultimately ended, but you got to think about the other results, right? So staff unemployed, patients disrupted, patient information, as well as health information permanently deleted. So ultimately what cyber insurance is that back-end protection for your business, because we all know how much effort small to mid-sized business owners put into the growth of their company, right? So the better, outcome and solution is protection.
Yeah. Wow. That's breaks my heart to hear that.
Right.
But, August 10th of 2019 that happened, and, just within 3 months or so, they were done. And there was a large probably mess to clean up, et cetera, because may I suggest that they may or may not have had the right protection in place. Heartbreaking. And that's what we don't want for anybody. And that's why we're doing this, to share information, to continue to educate business owners on what the real exposures out there might be and what they look like, and to help answer their questions to keep them better protected. Michael, thank you so much. We're passionate about cyber insurance, and we're just helping people with that fighting chance to save their businesses and everything that they worked so hard for and everything that they built. So, Michael, as we begin to wrap up our discussion today, we want to make sure that people are aware of the incredible array of risk management practices, claims practices, and other tools that you make available to every policyholder within the Evolve family, just to begin with. And I know the market value of your risk management practices is $5,000 just to begin with, regardless of the size of the policy, just based on the amount of investment that you and your team have made to put these tools in the hands of business owners. And that's so fantastic. I just love that about you guys. So talk a little bit about that, some of the risk management benefits, and talk a little bit about your claims as well.
Yeah, of course. So beyond, just being the reactive cyber insurance protection side, we want to be proactive in protecting business. So our goal is to improve our policyholders' security. And we've done so with an emphasis on two things. And again, I'm tying back to the human error aspect because it's always going to be there. But our focus is employee training and employee awareness. So we have 5 risk management tools. I don't want to dive too deep into them because I could talk about them forever. But BitSight, right? Technical insight to strengthen your organization's security. We have Ninjio, which is video episodes on the most real and most current cyber attacks we're seeing. Ultimately, I think, my favorite tool, what we use, is called intentional phishing. So these are simulated phishing attacks by intentionally, you as a business owner, trying to trick your own employees to click on suspicious links, right? So these employees who click on them are sent to an online e-course training. The next one is Scurio. Something to know, IBM, we are all well aware of IBM. It's obviously a worldwide software technology company, and they offer great cybercrime reports each year. They reported that on average, it takes businesses 197 days to identify they've been breached, right? So what this happens in these scenarios, hackers their intention is to get to those backups, find out as much information of the company as possible, and encrypt it and hold you for ransom. That way you're the most vulnerable. So what this application does is actually scans the dark web, or the black market is which hackers use the term, and for information specific to your organization, and alerts you in real time so you are aware and understand of a possible breach. And then lastly, incident response plan builder. Now, as a business owner, do you have a contingency plan the cyber attack occurs, what's the next steps? We have all the tips and tricks on handling incidents, and such as cyber attack rehearsals, good backup plans, as well as network documentation. But ultimately, from my perspective, when you become a policyholder of ours, you're not buying just a product, right? You're buying a service, and with that comes technical resources. In the case of what worst case scenarios, and in some cases that's the claim situation. So to tie in, claims and how we handle it in these situations, time is money, or time is of the essence. I like to utilize. So there's typically a 24 to 48-hour window to either pay a ransom or recover funds, a funds transfer fraud, right? So what you're purchasing is a peace of mind, because we have, the largest cyber specialist claims team made up of 90 or so strictly past forensic experts and data breach attorneys. And our incident response is at a $0 deductible with a access to a 24/7 hotline. So you're getting that peace of mind aspect where you essentially have free advice, or can access free advice from industry experts. So that really separates, who you're dealing with, and as a policyholder, the services, the resources you are getting in that situation.
Wow. So just to clarify what I just heard you say, and I know this, but I want everybody else to understand this because it's such a great feature of your entire program. So if I choose a $2,500 deductible to keep my overall cyber liability costs down, if something does rear its ugly head, for that particular feature, meaning to check with the risk management team or the claims department as to whether there is coverage or there isn't, there is no deductible for that.
Right. In those situations, we're wanting to incentivize, as a business to call out, reach out, make us aware of any possible situation. Because as you know, but not too many people know yet, these situations can get very tricky. Each one is very specific and individualistic to their own cases with the viruses that are out there. So we want to be, boots on the ground situation as quickly as possible.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's what it's all about, proactivity versus reactivity. And you just mentioned the word awareness. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's why I am so grateful that you're here today, sharing with everybody this vital information that every business owner needs to be aware of and needs to know about, because it is real out there. You just said early on in our talk today that 59% or more of the globe is online, and this is not going to go away. The pot for the bad guys out there and the bad girls out there is just going to get bigger, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's only going to get more and more connected as we grow and as technology grows. The exposure is bound to be there, right? So it's going to be more and more challenging to counter these attacks. So we preach proactiveness and reactiveness in this situation.
Yeah, and we're grateful for our partnership. Michael Armstrong, we are so grateful that you're here sharing your expertise with business owners everywhere to better protect them in today's cyber world. Any last closing thoughts as we wrap this up?
I don't. I want to thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, and I'm fired up for the future of cyber.
Yeah, I'm fired up too, and I'm fired up to get this information in the hands of marketplaces all over the Western United States, which is our operating area. So if you're watching this and you have any questions about cyber insurance at all, we just want to help educate. We just want to help protect people. Don't hesitate to reach out and have a conversation with us. You'll see information on the screen here in just a minute that will help you reach us. And of course, it's right behind me. So Michael Armstrong, again, I am grateful for our relationship. Thank you, sir, for your time today.